Welcome to the Filmcast review of Thunderbolts. I'm going to read the plot summary from the internet. Ensnared in a death trap, an unconventional team of antiheroes, Yelena Belova, Bucky Barnes, Red Guardian, Ghost Taskmaster, and John Walker, embarks on a dangerous mission that forces them to confront the darkest corners of their past. End quote.
A lot of lies in that summary, huh?
Yeah. That's the summary from the internet. And whether that actually happens in the movie, TBD. All that said, look, I have a feeling I know what Jeff's going to say about this movie. So what I'm really curious about is what Devindra Hardawar thinks, because Devindra,
Yeah,
I'm sensing a little bit of superhero fatigue. I feel it too. It's definitely something that I've experienced as well, and I was really not a fan of this new Captain America movie, and it feels like it's been so long since we've seen a really good MCU movie that I can root for. I'm curious, do you feel like this movie, Thunderbolts, was able to capture some of that old MCU magic?
I had very little hope going into this movie. It's bringing together a bunch of characters I don't really care about that much. I did like Florence Pugh and Black Widow, which is like a big highlight there, but everybody else, not really that much. It also seemed like a weird thing to do after Suicide Squad, right? This feels like they're kind of doing Suicide Squad again.
Right.
At least the way they were pitching this movie just did not really make sense to me. The trailers tried hard to make it seem compelling, and I think like they did a good job of marketing this thing. And yeah, I just had no hope going into this movie. Coming out of it, I was shocked to find I did not just like this movie. I love this movie. This is a fantastic entry in the MCU. I think one of the best MCU movies we've had in years, because I think mainly because it you can tell they took a little more time with it. Like there is care and attention paid to the characters, and what's actually happening in this movie is ultimately there are a lot of great character beats. There are a lot of great emotional beats too, but there's also like I just feel like they paid more attention to this movie in general. Like I think the action beats are fantastic. Like this movie opens up with Florence Pugh, with Yelena kind of, just being a little listless and sad about her life and feeling directionless. And there are some just like throwaway action sequences in there that I think are among the best we've ever seen in the MCU. There's one where she walks into a hallway. It's like overhead, just mowing down dudes, but then it ends up being a single take. And then it's like there's this really interesting light and play between light and shadow happening, like a lot of shadow play going on there. And I think that thing lasted for a while. I was like, this is good. This is in fact great. This is they actually care. Because I feel like in a lot of other movies, especially thinking back to Captain America or some of the lesser ones, like this would be sure, you would see like some choreography, but it would be kind of like a boring hallway fight scene where you're cutting too much or you don't really have a sense of what's going on. And no, there was actually some like visual, like there was some visual splendor there in like a pretty short hallway fight. And I think the movie just does that a lot. I think like it's really inventive and creative. Like the character work is great. It surprised me quite often. There's stuff we'll talk about in spoilers for sure that I'd love to hear Jeff's thoughts about too. But what this movie is about is really about coming to terms with the trouble in your life, like the things you're dealing with mentally. There's talk about depression here. There's talk about other things that you are going through, and I think that makes this movie a little more relatable too. Like this is a really, despite like how big things get, this feels like a very small scale thing that is ultimately about these characters trying to find purpose in their life, and I think it's done really well. So yeah, I was shocked. I thought this movie was funny. I think Florence Pugh was great, but she's always great. I love everything about this movie. Like this movie even made me like Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, who I think that was good casting, but the MCU has not done anything with her. Like she was very much doing, oh, you just want to be evil lady from Veep? I can do that. And this one is more like, oh, you kind of see the formations of how she can be manipulative and kind of a supervillain in her own right too. So I think that's interesting. Yeah, this movie worked for me on many, many levels, and I really dug it. So loved Thunderbolts.
That's awesome, Devindra. I do want to say, by the way, I think you don't really need to see any other movies to experience Thunderbolts.
Right.
But if
helps
you
with
are,
Black Widow.
I was going to say Black Widow is the one you should watch, and then to a much lesser extent, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
No,
I don't think you need that.
no.
Look, guys, I don't think you need either of those. I'm just saying here are some
Yeah.
things that might enhance your experience.
The plot
okay?
points. Yeah, the plot points. are there, yeah.
The plot. If you had told me how much of this phase would be dependent on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I would have said, "You're lying. I don't believe you." But yeah, like between that last Captain America, like huge characters and plot arcs from Falcon and the Winter
I mean,
Soldier.
you're right.
Are,
like
are
Wyatt
relevant.
Russell's character is a
Wyatt
big
Russell's
Yeah,
whole
you don't
thing,
even,
yeah.
wouldn't even know
Yeah.
who he is, I guess.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I guess you kind of don't need to. But.
Yeah, I don't think you need to watch any other movies. I'm saying,
No.
if you
I'm just
want
saying
to,
you wouldn't know who he is, but you kind of
Right.
don't need to know who he is. Is what
But
I'm
I don't
saying.
think you need to know. Like you get the relationship between Yelena and her father.
Yeah.
Even from this movie. So like,
And Black Widow, by the way, Black Widow was good. I remember we gave that movie a good review. It just felt out of place because it was released out of the timeline, basically. Yeah.
Deep in the pandemic. at
Yeah.
that point,
it's so weird for me to try to reflect on like what order they would have wanted this to come out in, because like
Yeah.
I cannot imagine
Mhm.
they'd have wanted a Falcon and Winter Soldier and Black Widow continuation to come out like years after those
Yeah.
movies were first released. They were
And
first.
Black
released.
Widow was supposed to be before Endgame, technically. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's the whole thing.
All that said, Jeff Kanata, what did you think of Thunderbolts?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say what I thought of Thunderbolts is best summed up in the form of a limerick.
Let's hear it.
They say Marvel's heyday is past, but when you've got this great a cast with fun things to do, don't doubt MCU, movies can still be a blast.
Nice.
I
Nice.
love that Devindra liked this movie. I also had so much fun with this movie. This feels like a Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Mhm.
This is when people were going to the movies and loving Guardians of the Galaxy movies, as I was. You got this kind of mix of really fun action, great chemistry of characters, hilarious moments, genuine humor that worked, and also, some cool inside baseball fun Marvel stuff. Like there's a specific character in this I was shocked to see. I don't know if
Multiple
it's been
characters.
revealed in any of the marketing, but
Yeah.
pretty shocked to see this character. Deep cut. And it's fun, I really love Julia Louis-Dreyfus in this. I think all of the cast is fantastic. Shout out to David Harbour for like just going for it in this movie. Love that guy. But everybody's great. And like you said, Devindra, it's about something that is relatable to everybody. It's not just about the big next existential threat.
Mhm.
I was thinking about you, Dave, when this was happening, because it's not blue beam in sky.
Mhm.
It's the blues beam in sky.
Nice. Nailed
It's
it,
the
Jeff.
hole in your heart.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it. I thought you were gonna say black. I thought you were gonna say black beam in heart.
Well, okay, that too.
Black space and heart. Yeah.
But it's I really like that it's a bunch of disaffected characters coming together and becoming something greater than they were. Here's the weird thing to me about this. The weirdest thing to me about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe this is a spoiler at all.
Can you tell us the type of information you're about to reveal?
Yeah.
It's about the title of this movie.
Oh, well,
wow.
I
Not
actually
that
think.
part of the title, not the asterisk part.
Oh, okay,
The-
okay.
The fact that they're called Thunderbolts.
Uh-huh.
So in the
Right.
comics,
I see.
the
I see.
team called
I
the
see.
Thunderbolts is a team of characters that are brought together by General Thunderbolt Ross. It's
Uh-huh.
his team.
Yeah.
And you
yeah.
go, well, they're doing a Thunderbolts movie. Oh, wait, the new Captain America
Yep.
is bringing back General Thunderbolt Ross
Mm.
out of obscurity. Haven't seen that guy in the MCU in a minute, but we're casting Harrison Ford as that character. We're making him a centerpiece of the next Captain America movie that's coming out right before the Thunderbolts movie. Wow, that's really shrewd. Sure makes a lot of sense that they're doing a Thunderbolts movie and we need to reconnect with the eponymous Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Guess what? Nope.
I think that may actually be a bit of a spoiler in terms of how the name is revealed. But yeah.
I'm not
Not what it
going to
is,
say more than that, but it
Right.
Yeah.
shocked me that there's like
Yes.
the movie just makes no reference
Right.
to General Thunderbolt.
It knows
all.
exactly what to leave behind. It also in terms of like characters who will not appear in future movies of this franchise. So yeah.
But
Yeah, like there's no reason for this to even have been called Thunderbolts. It like, could have been
called
named
something
anything.
else.
Yeah.
right,
Could have been
right.
called a more marketable name,
Yes.
which is revealed.
Well,
There's no like there's
Yeah.
no brand awareness to the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like
Yeah.
Avengers or even the Defenders. Like I feel like has more people have heard of the Defenders, right? Which is, you know,
Mhm.
or, there's other names in the Marvel universe
Mhm.
that I feel like would have had more. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I
but
almost wonder if like the pitch for this movie was like Thunderbolts, but that they're like, let's put a pin in that. We may change that title, asterisk, and they just kept it.
Well,
yeah.
Just stuck
I'm not
with
going
it,
to say what it is, but you learn at the end of the movie what the Thunderbolts asterisk stands for. And now,
Mhm.
guys, and Jeff, I know you'll be particularly upset by this, they are literally replacing the marketing of the Thunderbolts with a reveal of what that is.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
which
really?
is
Oh,
which
I
I
didn't see that.
actually think is bad.
it's a bad.
Uh,
it's a cool moment when it
yeah,
happens.
yeah.
And but this is a completely different point from that.
Yeah,
in
I
that
agree. Yeah.
you literally are referencing something that you've abandoned the reference for, which would have made sense if they didn't just bring that character back. Like
Yeah,
that's the craziest part
yeah.
to me is like, oh, I could understand not wanting it to be attached to General Thunderbolt Ross when we haven't talked about him in years in the
Certainly,
MCU.
we haven't released a movie that heavily features him in the last few months.
Yeah, it's just so weird to me.
I don't think they ever even referenced Thunderbolt Ross.
No.
They never say it.
No,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is also weird because
Well, they
Well,
don't
they
want
kind
you to
of
have a different
reference the fact-
association with him, right? Like,
well, but they reference the fact that there's one moment early in the movie where they reference the fact that the president of the United States had turned into a big red Hulk.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
there's no other connection. It's just so weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, I really enjoyed this one. You know,
Oh,
it's nice.
good.
What?
It's nice to have isn't it nice to have a Marvel film that we all liked? You know, That's
Wow,
great.
David, what has happened?
I'll
I'm
start with
amazed.
this. The movie doesn't look like complete garbage,
That
and
helps. Yeah.
that's a huge help because a lot of Marvel films look bad these days. I'm thinking of Captain America: Brave New World. I thought looked pretty like the Washington D.C. set piece in that movie. I don't think looked very good. Quantumania. You know, like there's been a lot of
God.
movies recently that have looked very bad. And this movie looks like a thing that I say a lot is all I want when I watch a movie is did people go to a place and do a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And this movie looks like people went to a place and did a thing. They went to an actual location. They shot some actual action with human beings. Whether or not that's actually true, it doesn't matter. It looks like they did. And I think that's great. There's saturation and color used in ways that aren't typical of Marvel films. So just like
Light
aesthetic,
and shadow.
Yeah,
in
light and
really interesting
shadow,
ways. Yeah.
negative space, just aesthetically, the movie looks very good. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's very strong compared to average Marvel
Mhm.
films. And I'm sad that that's become my bar, but it is the case. Florence Pugh is amazing, irresistible. You know, she's just super charismatic, and she shows that she can like anchor a movie like this by herself. And so it's just a pleasure to watch her do her thing. And she's kind of this irreverent person who's also fighting her own demons in this movie. And I think she does a good job of balancing those things. And as you guys have indicated, like the action set pieces are pretty cool. There's some cool ideas in these action set pieces. It doesn't feel like stuff we've seen. Well, to some degree, it feels like stuff we've seen before, but like they've really tried to put a fresh spin on it in this movie. And so I had a great time. This is probably the best post Endgame movie, I would say. Post Endgame MC movie. I like Shang-Chi as well, but like you know, this is really up there. This is like
How's this compared to Eternals?
very strong, very
Yeah.
strong. They're both really
Yeah.
good.
Mm.
Yeah,
Both feature real places. Yeah. That they were shot in. Yeah.
but only one has a celestial's hand coming out of the ocean. So anyway, I had a great time with this. I think it's hugely enjoyable, and I will say that the one thing I didn't like is the villain's arc in this movie. I'm not even going to say who the villain is, but I'll say that like the villain's arc feels like it was put on ultra fast forward. Like very little development, very like
I agree
it's
with that.
very implausible how fast some of the stuff happens, and it's not even like the beats are fine. It's just like it happens within like hours, you know, like
it feels
within,
like we should have time to breathe.
Yeah.
To use a Julia Louis-Dreyfus reference, it yada yadas a little bit
so
too
much.
Yeah.
So much. That's my only beef with the movie. Other than that, it's like, oh, this is a very like solid Marvel film that actually reminds you of why you liked Marvel films in the first place. You know, it's like these characters who are badass characters who are having fun interacting. They have great chemistry with each other, trying to save the world and also solve some of their own personal problems. You know, this is what you go to a Marvel film for.
It feels like a quintessential summer movie too, because you come out of the theater just having had a great time, you know, and I think that when Marvel is really cooking, it delivers that. It makes you feel like, man, that was some great popcorn, you know?
Indeed. All right, guys, shall we get to some spoilers? Because there's a lot to discuss in spoilers. Here we go. Let's get to spoilers for Thunderbolts starting right now. Let's start by saying I hope there were no Olga Kurylenko fans who turned out to watch this one. Right? I mean, I don't even know if you see her face before she gets.
You see her face briefly. You see her face. Like they do it like for like 10 seconds. That's rough.
Is there a story behind that? It felt so crazy abrupt.
Nobody gave a shit about Taskmaster. I think like that's the main thing.
People gave a shit about literally any of the other characters in this movie.
Well, they at least like there was more.
The director has explained that the reason they killed off this character is they wanted you to think anyone could go.
Yes, which it was shocking. Yeah. I was promised in teasers, summaries of this movie that it's about these people, including Taskmaster, going on a mission.
It's weird. Yeah. It's weird that they kept Taskmaster, they killed off Taskmaster, but then they kept this new character who we haven't been introduced to, Ghost, who I think is a total badass.
No, Ant-Man 2, dude.
Right. Ant-Man 2, yes.
That movie was so forgettable.
That's right.
But let me tell you, I will never forget. Who's her? Hannah John Kamen.
Yeah.
Who, I loved her in that movie, awesome. Even though that movie was completely forgettable. She is great. Like as an actress,
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, and she is awesome. And I think
you think they just invented a whole new character who can like disappear through walls for no reason?
Here's the reason I thought that is because she gives her whole backstory in a rather labored exposition in this film.
They all do.
Yeah. I think it's funny, like the way the movies try to summarize a character's like entire backstory via like 3 lines of dialogue in every single one of these movies.
You killed somebody with the shield on live television. Although I feel like if you wrote that line, it should be you decapitated somebody with Captain America's shield on television, not just killed.
That was a thing that happened in the very popular show Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
So maybe people should watch it just for that.
Yeah. But anyway, Olga Kurylenko's character, she's dead in the first like 15 minutes of the movie.
Not the first shocking scene in this movie too. Like this movie did several things that we'll talk about more towards the end, but there are several moments where I was like, holy shit, we're doing this? It felt different. Yeah.
The
little girl being blown away at the end.
Yeah.
After they save her. Like that was my audience gasped, to be honest.
Yeah, that was intense.
In my headcanon, by the way, they named him Bob after Twin Peaks. I don't think they actually said that, but
it's because the name Bob sounds funny too. Is the thing, like it's just and Bob and Peggy. Bob. Yeah. Hey, Bob.
So anyway,
Robert Reynolds in the comics in the century is Robert Reynolds.
And
I want to know more about it.
Again, other than the fact that they fast forwarded through his plotline, I thought the introduction to Sentry was super cool. Like they did it all in one shot, where like all the different people try to like take him down, but he stops them all because he's super powered. And
that's a great scene in general because he comes out in like the full decked out costume, and it looks ridiculous. But also the actor is like, I don't know if I agree with this. This is actually like he's very uncomfortable in it too. Like it is very well done in terms of how they present that sort of like golden age imagery. Jeff, I really want to know what you think of that character because I've always hated Sentry. So yeah,
I mean, you're supposed to, right? It's a Superman analog. Obviously, that's a take. It's a take on what if Superman was like a former alcoholic
but Superman with no weaknesses. He was always OP. He was always like ridiculously powerful. Yeah.
But that was like kind of the point. Like his weakness was his psychology, like he was flawed in up here and perfect everywhere else. And I think that's the kind of the fun take on it. But I'm just shocked to see this character in the MCU, and I thought it was a really cool way to go about it. And the introduction of him as just like all the super people in this room, and then just some guy. It was just so great. It was just really wonderful way, and they're all trying to use their awesome abilities to get themselves out, and he's just like, I can help. Maybe it's great. It was all
he
great.
Had the power of teamwork, like that whole the solution to get out of the silo thing. Good stuff. Yeah.
Oh man, great stuff. But also, couldn't help but feel terrified. Like one person slips and you're all going down. Maybe that's rough, but it was clever.
All right. Are there any other thoughts? I mean, I think that the way that character evolves, like, okay, there's a kill switch, but they don't explain how it works. But then,
you need the word
then
he
becomes the bad guy. Anyway, it's a little bit.
I think we needed, the better version of this.
Yes.
Without the yada yada is we get like months of psychological manipulation on Julia Louis-Dreyfus's part, and he really it really is a Manchurian Candidate style, inception of all this stuff. But we get like 15 minutes they hung out together, and now they're and it was all in there already. I
mean, she's really charming. I'll do whatever she says. Yes.
Yeah. But honestly, I forgave it that just for brevity's sake, and we get it, right? We can do the shorthand version. We understand it.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem as plausible, but we get it.
He's not in a mentally great place. It could seem like somebody who's super manipulative, like that's her superpower, could really take advantage of that in an interesting way. Yeah,
I thought Lewis Pullman's performance was really wonderful.
He is
you gotta. It's not an easy thing to have that kind of vulnerability that he displays throughout the beginning, and even after he's superpowered, you're gonna get this like, that guy's not right, like it's
like, I don't know about this guy's, like he does not look like confident. It's sort of like if Jimmy Olsen became Superman in a way. It's like I have powers, I guess. I love that actor though. He was from the show that you guys will never watch, but the whole show from Amazon. He was great in that. The whole show.
He was also in Maverick. It's interesting to me that we're seeing we're seeing like the sons of two sort of Hollywood icons, right? Bill Pullman and Kurt Russell kind of duke it out in the next generation of movies. But I thought he was great. He really sold that role, and like you said, Jeff, like there's a real kind of vulnerability to him. Again, my biggest beef with it is like we see him barely controlling his powers in one scene, and then like literally the next scene, he has complete mastery of everything. It's just like,
that's a different. It's sort of like a bit of a different character. Like by the time he turns full bad, like I don't know if they actually say the Void in this movie, but the concept of that character is also really interesting. Like what if there was a Superman, like a literal god type character, but there is no kryptonite. But flip side, he's also just as powerful as a supervillain, and just as terrifying. And that's a really interesting concept. The imagery for that, the way they blow people away.
The shadowing of people. What a
shadowing is great.
Cool visualization of that.
Yeah. Really cool. Like that scene with the little girl, I think, like just shocking, but also the way it kind of visualizes blacking out all of New York and blacking out things in general. Like I feel bad for the people in the city of New York who they've lived through the Avengers, the whole invasion from the Avengers. They've lived through the snap, right? Like the sense of like, am I alive anymore? Where am I? Am I in a dream dimension now? Oh, okay.
Here's a better question.
Not far from reality, Devindra. Not far from reality.
Here's a better question. Where the hell is Spider-Man? Like,
where is anybody?
This is freaking New York City. Okay,
busy,
this is New York City.
I understand Thor has his own shit to handle, but this is New York City, man. Okay,
I had a test that day at Midtown High.
Yeah, it's true. He's in college now in the show, I think.
What's the Daredevil Born Again timeline with all this? Like, I don't know how they're juggling all this.
Where the hell is Matt Murdock?
Nobody mentioned the new mayor at all.
And we have to wait several years to like for the conclusion for Daredevil. What is happening in New York and all these other I can't think about it. Yeah.
All right, guys. We got to talk about the post-credit scene. And
Which one? They're both good.
there's one with the Wheaties box, and then there's one. There's like the kind of canonical one. I have to say, in my opinion, most MCU post-credit scenes are bad. But this was actually like a shockingly good set of post-credit scenes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This is some of the best post-credit scenes we got.
Well, they got something. They got something to tease, right?
Right.
Sometimes they don't have anything to tease.
That's
really.
right. That's right. Or they tease stuff that goes nowhere. But I wanted to start by reading this Slack message I got from Danish, Syed, friend of the show, who says, quote, I had watched Dan Murrell's review of Thunderbolts, and he said, FYI, the music portion of the end credits spoil the final end credit scene. So I'm sitting there watching the credits, and then when the music section comes up, I look away so I don't get spoiled. The credits are almost finished when the lady sitting next to me blurts out, wait, why is Fantastic Four credited? That music wasn't in the movie, thus spoiling it for me. End quote.
Really?
And I just want to say that I had a kind of double inception of this, where when I went to see this movie in IMAX, I saw a custom IMAX bumper that was themed around Fantastic Four. It was like,
yeah, me
this
too.
Is Fantastic
The
Four.
countdown that they normally do, the IMAX countdown where it goes 10, 9, 8, and it's got all the different sounds that are coming. It was all themed around Fantastic Four. Yeah.
So then when I saw Fantastic Four pop up at the end, like I stupidly thought in my head, that must have been for the IMAX thing, which doesn't make any goddamn sense because obviously not everyone has the IMAX thing. Anyway, get to the end, and there is a reveal of the Fantastic Four. They're on an interdimensional ship, and then you hear the theme, which is what is mentioned in the end credits. But pretty exciting, guys. What do you think?
I popped like a mark, as you might expect. I'm so amped for the Fantastic Four movie, and just and if this scene is the moment, like if the Fantastic Four First Steps movie is pure period, and we are only in present day in this scene from this movie, like that's the bridge to present day. That's pretty rad, I think.
Yeah,
it's cool that they finally got their shit together, and they're like it feels like, oh wow, like these movies all are interconnected in a way that like they haven't felt like in a long time for a variety of reasons, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I just wasn't that movie's a month away. Like, yes, of course they're going to try to like draw a bridge directly to it. I was more surprised by the whole New Avengers thing and like the naming battle. Like that was fun. I was like, yes, of course you're going to tease Fantastic Four. That you got to remind people that's coming. Get your tickets now.
Yeah. I guess, Devindra, first of all, pre-Marvel, such a thing would be seen as like pretty revolutionary. Oh wow, like I can't believe you're teasing a movie that's coming in a few months. Also, post-Marvel, they haven't been able to do it successfully very well for a long time because of COVID delays, because Jonathan Majors is not Kang anymore, whatever reason. And so,
I mean, they teased Blade, right?
They actually pulled it off. And so that's
we got Blade for half a second in one movie, and I feel pretty good about that, actually.
Let's talk about the other big reveal. But anyway, with regards to Fantastic Four, I have rarely felt more excited. Like I'm like legitimately amped for the new Fantastic Four movie after this post credit. It's like, oh, that was a cool post credit scene that like really gets you excited for the next movie. And again, I know, Devindra, you're like, oh, who cares? But I'm like, it's been a while since they've pulled that off successfully, and I think that's worth noting.
Is the danger though? Is this movie, the Fantastic Four, better be real good, because this movie is real good. Now you don't want the like group of like misfit anti-heroes to overshadow the Fantastic Four. So I hope that movie lives up to everything. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this asterisk, right? So I'm reading here from the New York Times. The headline is Thunderbolts axes the asterisk to market its surprise title reveal. A plot twist that comes in the movie's final moments will now be front and center on billboards. But yeah, as of Monday morning, the big reveal teased by the symbol in the title will now be front and center on the movie's billboards, which have switched from Thunderbolts to the surprising title introduced in the film's closing credits, which is the New Avengers. So not only is that a reveal that happens in the movie, but they're now like, it's now everywhere. Like if you go, you'll see the new Avengers is out now.
To me, that is more of a cool thing. Like, oh, we've never actually really seen that done before, or maybe not as like widespread as this. Because like, yeah, of course you're going to tease Fantastic Four, but like, what was that asterisk all about? What were we waiting for a while? You know? Yeah.
I absolutely love the asterisk. I think that what a brilliant idea. It's a major bummer that they are now just, you know, having that be the name.
It was a placeholder title, Jeff. That's what the asterisk was for. Yeah,
I wonder
I'm a little shocked that it's like so soon. Like,
well, I wonder if that's
like
a
2
way
to 3 weeks. You know, like
I wonder if that's a way for Disney Marvel to reemphasize you got to be there on opening weekend,
right? But also, Jeff, for people who didn't see it on opening weekends, the new Avengers, that's more interesting to me than Thunderbolts.
The people who aren't going on opening weekend maybe need a little extra push, and the people who are there on opening weekend got to be part of that. You know, I don't know. It's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. It's a bummer to me that's spoiled, but
yeah, there are a couple like really smart marketing moves, like the way they also marketed the trailers too. Like there was the one that was just like, oh, we've got all these prestige talent from all those indie movies you love. They're taking part of this too.
Yeah.
Really smart ways to frame this movie.
I wish that these movies did a better job, like Captain America, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts did a better job of explaining what exactly it means to be the Avengers. Like, is it just a group? Is it just like a group of people that are good at fighting crime? Like,
well, they're also in Avengers Tower now too. So.
Like does it entitle
the premier
you?
super team?
Yeah,
they're the first line of defense on the biggest threats to America.
Does it entitle you to funding or branding? I guess, like, who determines who gets the Avengers
Winter Soldier
branding?
didn't have any money, as we learned from Falcon. Or no, Falcon didn't have money, right? In Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So
right. So, I wish there was more stakes attached to like who gets to be the Avengers, because I don't really. Is it just do we the people collectively decide who the new Avengers are? Does the president say who decides who the Avengers? You know, like,
who
I don't
decides,
understand.
man. But also, what of the other old Avengers? What of the young Avengers? Like the people we spent years learning about. Like, it is weird how New Avengers is the title of just this group of villains that are now anti-heroes.
So,
well, it'll be interesting. You know, all these actors are confirmed for the Avengers. That it's coming. So
the non-new Avengers. Movies,
so I wonder how that's all going to play out. If that will be a subplot in that movie of their, you know, sort of attempting to take on that mantle. You know.
But
before we wrap, by the way, I want to shout out to Sun Lux's score for this movie. I think is fantastic, and also a really great reworking of the Alan Silvestri Avengers theme. Like, that was kind of cool to hear a twist on that, but also mixed with the Pixies' "Where Is My Mind." Really fun, really fun way of just handling that theme. Yeah.
There's so much fun in this movie. There's so many great, you know, turning the shield into a taco, for example. It's just so fun.
I love that they did that, and they made him deal with that for the rest of the entire movie.
Great. Yeah. I also love the end credits, all of the
news
marketing
magazine covers.
Yeah, so great.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of really just fun. It really is a good time at the theater, I think, and the way that those Guardians of the Galaxy movies always were.
It also has the emotional core those movies did too, because I like that the big finale here is like, we're not going to punch this dude into becoming a better person, right? Like, it's group hug time, basically, and that was surprising to see. In what's ostensibly an action franchise.
Jake Schreier, the director, he worked on Beef, I believe, right? And so there's some Beef DNA in this movie, and that's good.
He's the director of Robot and Frank. some DNA there, but he is the director of Robot and Frank, a movie from 2012, which I liked quite a bit too, and like it's cool to see an indie guy not get fully chewed up in the Marvel machine, and maybe they will learn something from this entire process too.
Yeah. Jeff, I don't know if I got your take on like this being the new Avengers though. Like, I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't think it's permanent. But it's cool. I think it's a fun, you know, the fact that they get to play with these things that have been established over 15 years now, or
Yeah.
or however long it's been. Over a decade of our investment into concepts that have
Mhm.
that have meaning now, right? And the fact that lands in it, like, that's a big deal. I know you're expressing some confusion as to what that actually means, but I think we understand that it's a big deal.
Sure.
And there is a certain responsibility that comes with it. And I think to be able to play with that, and the willingness to play with that, to let this real B team inherit that mantle, I think is cool. I don't think it's going to last, but I think it's cool.
Mhm.
Why don't you think it'll last, Jeff? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I mean, unless this movie's a massive hit, I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna last either way. But I think these are the misfit characters, and I think they're being saddled with that is going to be part of the challenge for them as characters. I think the whole idea of them not being ready to be the Avengers is a thing, and I think that's. This is just. I'm just conjecture, but my sense is that their arc is going to be rising to the moment and having difficulty rising to the moment. And I think
their fate is just as fragile as Taskmaster's, basically. Like, but I love how it handled that too. Like, no death is like unimportant. She meant something to, like, Yelena defend her a couple of times too, and even after she says, like, she had a hard life, like she went through a lot. She's not just a random villain that nobody cared about. I think this movie made time for that, which was kind of cool. One thing that did confuse me a bit though is like the final scene where they're like confronting Valentina. She walks behind the stage. It's a press conference. I don't know why they were just like, you guys know what she did. You have the entire press here. This is your chance to, like, really get her in the shit. They just kind of go with it, I guess.
She
But
wowed
yeah.
them with the whole razzle dazzle. I don't know
Well,
how
I think that's the whole thing,
Yeah.
is like being deemed Avengers worthy diffuses that that anger in them. It's like, oh well, now we get to be the Avengers. Like, I think that's
a lot of people killed. Now she's still in the position of power of America. Yeah.
Not great.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Something the Avengers would solve. Yeah.
Another moment that I wanted
they have her. They own her now, Devindra. You see, because they have this damaging information on her. So
she's still walking free. So I think they don't have her. They don't have her.
A lot
of
people in real America that applies to too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some really fun action sequences. One of my favorites is the first. We were talking about Taskmaster. The conceit in that opening sequence where everybody is attacking a different person is so fun. It reminded me of Marvel's, when the action sequence in that movie, which I think is still very underrated as a post Endgame movie. But that fun thing where people are being paired up in inconvenient ways and having to deal with it. Like, it's kind of a riff on that, or a riff that is parallel to that, where we have all these people who have a different target and don't want to interact with each other, but have to. And I loved just that dynamic. I was giddy in my seat watching it. I don't want to fight you. I want to fight them, but they want to fight you and they want to fight me. And it's just very fun. Very fun.
Why are there two Captain America shields flying around here? What's going on? It's too much.
Yeah.
This movie makes time for a lot of little things too, like making fun of the new Captain America, his little helmet.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool, right? Guys? Yeah.
I was shocked at how much of a raging asshole that character is in this. Like, he's not even that bad in the show.
I love it.
I like that they called it out immediately, because they're like, "You're such an asshole," and I'm like, "Oh, good. I'm glad that the movie is on the same page."
And it shows us, like, specifically, I think, a really difficult scene that I don't think we see in an MCU movie is him just being an asshole to his partner and like ignoring his kid, like true asshole behavior. This is the same guy we saw decapitate somebody with Captain America's shield, but now he's a bad guy because he's ignoring his baby.
His was dictated.
Wyatt Russell is willing to go there too.
Yeah,
he really leaned into making this guy unlikable, which I think is it's a brave thing to do in a movie like this, a big franchise movie where you're ostensibly playing a superhero. But I thought it was kind of a courageous performance where he would just unabashedly douchebag. You know, I thought it was great.
It's good stuff.
I'll just highlight a few random things I really liked. Like the opening scene with Yelena like jumping off the roof of the thing. That looked really cool.
Yep. Good stuff.
So parachuting, it looks like somebody actually did that. I don't know if that's true, but it looks
very
like
Mission Impossible. Almost. Yeah.
One of my favorite moments from the movie is when Sentry is like Bob is first like figuring out what his powers are, so he flies into the sky, and then he like comes back down on Earth and lands, and then like he lands with so much impact it sends like a shockwave through the entire. And the way that shockwave is depicted, I just think it's like, oh, that looks like pretty realistic shockwave. I thought it was just, and it like tips their whole vehicle over. I thought that was really cool, and then I really enjoyed the line at the end where they need to go through their own like terrible memories to get to Bob. And Yelena asks like, hey, did you guys like see, like, did you guys go through like your own rooms? And Bucky is like, oh yeah, but like my past is good, so like I didn't see anything bad at all. Like, I just thought that relies on your knowledge of the MCU to like know why that's funny. So I appreciated that. Anyway,
so good.
Were you satisfied with the post legislative work of Senator Bucky Barnes? Because that was a question.
That was we discussed it in the After Dark. Is like, yeah, you know, I think Bucky Barnes is realizing what a lot of people who get into politics realize, which is like, you know, you think it's going to be sexy work, but it ends up being boring. You know, there's a lot of problems you can't solve by punching them with your bionic arm. Is the thing that we learned. And,
I like the bionic arm in the dishwasher is funny too.
Yeah, good stuff.
That was good.
This is gonna be a summer of Wendell Pierce, by the way, because he's here in a prominent role. He'll be Perry White in Superman as well. Like he's prominent. He's gonna be all over the place.
You can't do that. You can't be in both Marvel and DC.
Doesn't work. I was also scrolling through Drake Schreier's IMDb here. He did a couple episodes of Lodge 49, which is that great Wyatt Russell show we've talked about. And so clearly, I think like he had a good working relationship to help Wyatt Russell, like, you know, play a complete asshole and make you care about him after a certain point. Yeah.
Other thing I want to bring up is, Dave, I think you mentioned, I don't know if Devindra, you did, seeing this in IMAX. I also saw this in IMAX. I thought very worth seeing it in IMAX. Really great IMAX stuff.
Pretty solid presentation. Solid presentation. Anyway, at the end of the day, it is really impressive that Jake Schreier made a pretty good Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.